requests and dedications on Hospital Radio.
This is your free 24-hour radio station, Radio Heartbeats.
Playing the music you love.
Hospital Radio.
This is Hospital Radio Heartbeats.
This is Play Your Charts Right. Please welcome your host, Mark Pearson.
Hello there once again. Welcome to Play Your Charts Right. It's nice to see you. And of course, tonight is the night if you play your charts right. Well, if you're joining us for the first time, you're going to want to know how to play the game. And it's really, really simple. I'm going to give the two teams in the studio, Andy and Brian. It's one-on-one this week. I'm going to give them a year, and it can be any year that I have selected at random. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to play them a series of chart clips from that year. And all they need to do is guess whether they think the chart clip they just heard is higher or lower than the last. So if you think a song charted closer to a number 1, you would say higher, and you think it charted closer to a number 40, you would say lower, hence the name Play Your Charts Right. And as Andy's just said, last week's edition was based all around music released in 1977. Andy's team won last week. They got 1 point, and Andy's team is going to be going first this week. Now, I say team, it's a bit different this week. It's mano a mano. It's one-on-one. Andy versus Brian. Brian versus Andy. Who's going to win? It's 13 points to 11 in Brian's favour. So there's still everything to play for the year. But now that we've explained exactly how that works, I need to give you the year in question. Okay, so I can reveal that the year in question on this week's Play Your Charts Right is from the 21st century, and it's 2007. So all the chart clips you're about to hear are all based off the peak chart position from the songs released in the year of 2007. Okay, with that all explained, it's time to get into it. Let's play Your Charts Right. As I always like to say at the start of every game, we are off once again. Okay, so the year in question this week on Play Your Charts Right is 2007. Andy's going to go first this week, but before we get into the game, because I'm such a nice guy, I'm going to play Andy a starter hit. So Andy, if you are ready, let's hear this week's starter hit from 2007. Bit alternative, Andy. Linkin Park, What I've Done. And in 2007, the peak chart position of that song was a number 6. So that is your starting point. Now that we've played that, it's time to start the game off with round 1. So Andy, if you're ready, let's hear your first hit. Andy, the Foo Fighters with The Pretender, was it higher or lower than a 6?
Now, Foo Fighters were obviously popular, definitely popular live. Albums are always, I think, pretty good, or they were, but I don't know whether the singles were as big. So I'm going to say lower for that one. I think possibly top 10, but lower than a 6, please, Mark.
Okay, Andy's going to lock in that he thinks that the Foo Fighters with The Pretender was lower than a 6 for his first point of the game. Is he correct? A good start for Andy. He gets 1 point. I can reveal that the peak chart position of The Pretender by the Foo Fighters was a number 8 in 07. So we start with Andy getting 1 point. Let's go over to Brian. Let's hear Brian's first hit from 07. But what's it going to be? Let's find out. Brian, Calvin Harris, acceptable in the 80s. So was it higher or lower than an 8?
I remember hearing this a lot on the radio, so based on that, I'm going to go higher.
Okay, the final answer from Brian is that he thinks Calvin Harris is acceptable in the 80s was higher than a number 8. Is he correct for his first point of the game? It was actually lower. It just broke the top 10, and it was a number 10. So no points awarded for Brian.
To be fair.
As we go now back over to Andy, let's go into round 2. Andy, let's hear your second hit. Andy, Groove Armada with Get Down, was it higher or lower than a 10?
Groove Armada. Now, I know Groove Armada, but that track is not familiar to me. I've got a feeling I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I don't know whether this was top 10. I think it could have been like a 12 maybe or a 13. I don't know, but I think slightly lower than a 10. So lower, please, Mark.
Okay, Andy thinks that Groove Armada's Get Down was lower than a 10 in 2007. Is he correct? No, he's incorrect. The peak chart position of Get Down by Groove Armada was a number 9, so it was only just did get into the top 10, but only just higher. Right, let's go over to Brian. Let's hear his second hit from 2007.
She's so lovely, 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 she's so lovely.
Brian, Scouting for Girls. She's so lovely. Would you have guessed it? Higher or lower than a number 9?
Well, the two that I've had so far I actually recognise. I'm gonna go higher with this one.
Okay, so Brian thinks that Scouting for Girls with She's So Lovely was higher than a 9. Is he correct? He certainly is. And I can confirm that the peak chart position of She's So Lovely was a number 7 in 2007. Okay, over to round 3. We'll go back to Andy. Let's hear his next hit.
Goodbye, Mr. A. You promised you were lovers, but you knew too much. Goodbye, Mr. A.
The Hoosiers' Goodbye Mr. A. Was it higher or lower than a 7?
It was a big hit as well, this, I remember. But was it big enough to get in the top half of the charts? I think it could have made a 5 or a 6 this, you know. I'm pretty sure it was in the charts for a little bit. So I'm going to go higher, please, Mark.
Okay. So Andy's final answer is that he thinks the Hoosiers with Goodbye Mr. A was higher than a 7. He needs another point for the game. Does he get it?
Could do with it.
Well done, Andy. The peak chart position of Goodbye Mr. A in 2007 was a number 4. So definitely top 10, top 5 at least anyway.
Top 5, yeah.
Right, another point for Andy there. Back over to Brian. Let's hear his third hit from 2007. Let's hear it.
This is the way that we are pretending. No hope, no love, no glory, no happy ending.
Brian, Mika with Happy Ending. Was it higher or lower than a 4?
Well, this is the first one of mine that I don't actually recognise, so I'm going to go lower.
Okay, Brian's going to go lower because he doesn't recognise it, but Brian, was Mika's Happy Ending lower than a 4? It was. Well done, you're correct. Peak chart position in 2007 of Mika's Happy Ending was a number 7. So you were absolutely correct to go lower there as we cruise into round 4. Back over to Andy. Still everything to play for. Andy, we've got another hit from 2007 lined up for you, but what is it?
Now shut up and drive.
Rihanna, Shut Up and Drive. Was it higher or lower than a 7?
It's Rihanna. It probably should be higher. I've got a feeling it's probably going to be lower, but it wasn't a number 1. I think possibly a number 5, maybe a number 6 even. I'm going to go higher, Mark. Slightly higher than a number 7, please.
Okay, Andy's going to go slightly higher. He thinks that Rihanna's Shut Up and Drive was higher than a 7 in 2007. Is Andy correct? Andy, well done. You were absolutely bang on the money there because the peak chart position of Shut Up and Drive was number 5.
Okay.
So you were absolutely correct to go higher. One more point for Andy. Back over to Brian. Let's hear his fourth hit from 2007. Brian, Nelly Furtado, Say It Right. Was it higher or lower than a 5?
Again, that's not one I recognise. Lower.
Okay, Brian's going straight in with lower, but was Nelly Furtado's Say It Right lower than a 5? It was. Good guess, Brian. The peak chart position of Say It Right just snuck into the top 10 once again with a number 10. So there's still everything to play for. As we go into round 5, it's level pegging. So let's
Tiebreaker's waiting in the wings.
Tiebreak is definitely waiting. So the whole game could hinge on those last two hits.
Oh, yeah, this is the last round, isn't it?
Right, let's go over to Andy. Let's hear his last hit from the year of 2007.
Cause we all just wanna be big rock stars and live in hilltop houses driving 15 cars. The girls come easy and the drugs come cheap. Well, I'll stay.
Andy, Nickelback with Rockstar, was it higher or lower than a 10 in 2007?
This was, again, I think this was a big, you know, it was played
song.
a lot. It was a good song. It doesn't necessarily mean to say
it was a big hit.
Big hit, though. I heard it a lot on the radio. I think maybe, not perhaps top 5, but maybe higher than a 10, though. So I think I'm going to finish with, I think it went higher than a 10. Please, Mark.
Okay, the final answer from Andy for his final hit on this week's Play Your Charts Right is he thinks Nickelback's Rockstar was higher than a 10. This may well shape the outcome of the game, but does Andy get the point? It's time to find out. Andy, it was lower. The peak chart position of Nickelback's Rockstar was a number 15.
Wow.
So it didn't even make it to the top 10. Right. So that means for the second week running, it hinges.
That was 15.
Number 15.
I don't care what the next song is. I already know my guess.
It does mean that we've got one last hit to play for Brian. So the game hinges on this last hit. So let's hear the last chart clip from this week's Play Your Charts Right.
Hey, I put some new shoes on and suddenly everything's right. I said, hey, I put some new shoes on and everybody...
Brian, Paolo Nutini, New Shoes, was it higher or lower than a 15 in 2007?
I was doing the Tannoy at Burscough Football Club in 2007. I remember I used to play this one a lot. And I think it was, what was it, higher than a 15?
15.
Higher than a 15.
Okay, Brian thinks that Paolo Nutini's New Shoes was higher than a 15 in the year of 2007. If he gets this right, he will win the game. If he doesn't, for the third week in a row, we'll go to a tie-break. Let's find out, does Brian get the point?
I'm stunned.
And Brian, I can confirm that the peak chart position of Paolo Nutini's New Shoes wasn't even top 20.
That is criminal. That's a great song.
Number 21.
I can't believe
Paolo.
Nickelback was only 15. I didn't like Nickelback, to be honest with you, Mark, but I thought it was a big hit, that, though.
That's a shame, because that's a great song.
Absolutely. I thought that when I was doing the research, and I thought it was a shame. But yeah, Paolo Nutini, just to recap, the New Shoes song, number 21.
Wow.
So that means, again, for the third week in a row, we go to a tie-break situation. It's 3 points to Andy, 3 points to Brian, and this is exactly how the tie-break works. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to play one more hit from the year of 2007 for everybody in the studio. Now, because Andy went first, he's going to try and guess what he thinks the peak chart position of this song was in 2007. Once he's guessed, Brian is going to try and guess whether he thinks it's higher or lower. And whoever is correct will win the game. Okay? So, if you're ready, let's hear the tiebreaker from 2007.
Oh no.
2007's Eurovision entry,
Song Contest. Oh dear.
Flying the Flag for You. Andy, what do you think the peak chart position of Scooch, Flying the Flag for You, was in
Didn't
07?
they come last?
Oh, possibly. That doesn't necessarily mean that it didn't do well in the charts, though, does it? I'm going to say it got in the charts at number 9.
Number 9?
Okay, Andy's going to go with a 9. Brian, was it higher or lower than a 9?
Lower.
Okay. The guesses are locked in. Andy thinks it was a 9. Brian thinks that it was lower. I can reveal that the peak chart position of Scooch's Flying the Flag for You in 2007 was... It was a number 5. Andy wins.
Wow.
So there you have it. That's this week's Play Your Charts Right. That was a good game, wasn't it?
It was a great game, that.
But didn't they do well, as we always say? So Andy wins this week, 4 points to 3. The year in question was 2007, which also brings Andy's total score to 13 to 12. So you're 1 point behind Brian overall. The comeback is well and truly on it.
Feels good, feels great. Hospital Radio.